Yes, sir.
Anyway, okay, we'll do a bit of spur gear design and design procedure and all we'll take up. So, as for gears, as we know, when two cylinders are pressed against each other and one is given an angular velocity, because of the roughness that is present on the surface of the cylinders A and B, okay, so the one which is called driver will drive the other another wheel, okay, which is called driven. So, if the velocity of the driver increases, the rough surface, that the force of friction will not be sufficient, so slipping will occur. Okay, so to overcome the problem of slipping, these wheels are will be taken, and these wheels will have teeth cut on its periphery, and the cylinders with teeth cut on its periphery are called gear. And here the projection of one cylinder will get into the races of the other cylinder during transmission of motion and power. As per American Gear Manufacturers Association, gears are machine elements that transmit motion and power by means of successively engaging teeth. And gear drive is a positive drive. And efficiency is of the order of 99% because there is no slipping as in case of belt drive or rope drive. Okay, so a friction wheel with teeth cut on its periphery is called a gear. This is what a gear is. And if the teeth are parallel to the axis, they straight. The teeth are straight, so therefore they are called spur gears. And the smaller of the gears, gear pair is called pinion, and bigger of the gear pair is called the gear. And next, what we saw was the classification of gears according to position of the axis. We have got parallel gears. So in that you will have both spur and helical gears being present. And then when you take off intersecting gears, we have got bevel gears. Okay, bevel gears essentially are used for transmitting motion and power between the intersecting axis, something like this. So this is pinion, and maybe this is the gear, and the shaft angle, if not given, most often it is going to be taken as 90 degrees in case of bevel gears. So they are called intersecting bevel gears. Another one is non-parallel, non-intersecting, essentially is the worm and worm wheel drive. Then according to velocity, we have got low velocity gears, medium velocity gears, and high velocity gears. This is another classification of gears. Then according to type of gearing, whether it is external gearing or whether it is internal gearing or whether it is rack and pinion. So external gearing, you will have the gears side by side or one above the other, something like this. Okay, this is the external gearing. There are many places where you will have a cylinder. Inside that you will have gears, essentially the planetary gearbox. Okay, they are called the internal type of gearing, where you will have sun gear, and within that you will have planetary gears. Okay, so the planetary gearbox essentially is a type of internal type of gearing. And rack and pinion, as you are familiar with, so you will have a rack which is essentially a straight one. Okay, that you see mostly in where did you see rack and pinion type of movement? You have any idea where you have seen rack and pinion movement of idea? I mean, rack and pinion type of movement. Any machine that you have used? You have used a machine where there is rack and pinion type of arrangement. Do you know where it is? It is on a lathe. Okay, so lathe you will have rack and pinion arrangement to move the tool post. Okay, so that is rack and pinion type of arrangement. According to position of teeth, you have got straight teeth, you have got inclined teeth, and you have got curved teeth. So under straight teeth curve, we have got a spur gear. So that's what we saw here. These are all straight tooth. Okay, so essentially spur gear is a straight tooth type of gear. Then you have got inclined tooth, which is essentially the helical gears, and curved tooth, which are called spiral gears. So this is classification of gears. Okay, so this is what. So you have got spur gear, straight tooth, and parallel axis. This is helical gear, inclined tooth, and parallel axis. Okay, and this is again in bevel gears. It is a straight tooth here, and this is called the spiral tooth. This is worm and worm wheel. This is the worm wheel, and this is the worm shaft. And module is given by pitch circle diameter divided by number of these basics you have studied in your kinematics of machines. However, we'll look into the terminology of gears. Okay, so if you take this as the pitch circle diameter, this is the pitch circle diameter where entire give and take of load happens, okay, on pitch circle diameter, and this portion is called the profile, which is combination of face and flank. So from pitch circle diameter to the top surface of the gear is called addendum. Pitch circle diameter to the bottommost of the gear tooth is called addendum. And circular pitch is the distance on one tooth, that is if I take this as one tooth, okay, to the corresponding point on the next tooth, that is called the circular pitch given by pi into m. Okay, and then pressure angle, we have learned a lot on pressure angle in our previous class. Okay, so then profiles can be cycloidal or involute. Generally in practice, the profile that is used is involute profile. And pressure angle, we have two standard pressure angles. One is 20-degree involute profile, 20-degree stub tooth profile, and another one is 14.5-degree involute profile. Okay, so 14.5-degree profile is used where you need quietness of operation, but the beam strength comes down in case of 14.5-degree pressure angle, and also number of teeth required will be more when you are using 14.5-degree pressure angle. So normally 20-degree full depth involute pressure angle is used in general. Okay. Then we learned about design considerations. So what are the things or specifications for a gear design? So if I want you to design a gear, I need to give what is the power that is to be transmitted, what should be the speed of driving gear, and what should be the speed of driven gear. And what are the requirements? This is what we saw the next. So the requirements that must be met in the design of gear. So first is, as usual, for any mechanical component, it should have sufficient strength so that they will not fail under static loading as well as at high starting torque. So the teeth should be sufficiently strong to withstand high starting torque, and also it should not fail during normal running operations. Next, we want the components to come for a longer duration of time without failure. That means if that has to happen, the component that we are going to design, whether it is gear or a clutch or a brake, should have good wear characteristics so that their life is long and satisfactory. And also the gear should not fail in dynamic running conditions. So these are the three requirements, okay, that has to be met by designer during the design of a gear. So to understand the strength of the gear, Lewis has formed an equation. Lewis has given an equation wherein he assumes that the entire load is given and taken by one tooth during the operation of the gears. Okay, so to understand that, to obtain a beam of uniform strength, a parabola can be considered through point A, and to understand weakest points, so the gear except at point B and C, okay, you have more material everywhere. Okay, so that portion will not become weaker portion. So the points B and C becomes weaker section or vulnerable section for failure. And the gear tooth, he has taken it, and the force that is acting is the normal force which can be resolved into tangential force and radial force. Radial force is neglected, and what we have is only tangential force, which again becomes a gear tooth will become like a beam subjected to cantilever beam subjected to load at its free end Ft. And H will give you the length of, that is addendum plus dedendum put together will give you height of the gear tooth, and radial force is neglected as usual because it has got no effect on the strength of the beam. So the gear tooth is subjected to bending stress. So that's what we have taken here. Bending stress is given by m into y by I, bending moment, distance of farthest layer from neutral axis, and I is the moment of inertia. So that is essentially given by bt cube by 12, where y is equal to t by 2. So that is, this is t by 2 distance, this is y. Okay, so from there we have got the equation. Substitute all the values of moment I and y into bending stress, and we are going to get tangential tooth load equation. And by replacing t and h, which are variables, okay, by another variable in terms of circular pitch PC, so we'll get t is equal to x into PC, h is equal to k into PC. So from there, we get the equation of sigma by pi m, and then also the bending stress here depends upon the type of material that is used, and it's essentially its allowable static stress sigma naught. So if your allowable static stress is greater, so the tangential tooth load withstanding capacity, its strength also goes up. Okay, so and also in order to account for dynamic effects, because gears are subjected to dynamic operation, okay, so the gears are subjected to dynamic loading condition. So to take care of dynamic velocity factor. So what it does is it reduces the value of sigma naught, that is the allowable static stress value will come down when you multiply it by a velocity factor which is always less than 1. That means the strength of the material will be reduced if the velocity factor is multiplied to static allowable stress. Okay, so more the velocity factor and lesser is the value, that is stress that is allowed, that is the static stress that is allowable, or that we can use it for our calculation. So it depends on velocity factor. So substituting sigma b by sigma naught into cv, we are going to get Lewis equation in the form of sigma naught cv by pi into m, called tangential tooth load. This is the Lewis equation. Next, coming to the gear design. Okay, so essentially, as I said, the gear pair will have a pinion and a gear. So this is what we saw, okay, in the earlier diagram, where, yeah, so this is where, so this is the pinion. The smaller of the gear pair is called pinion, and larger of the gear pair is called gear. So this is essentially is called a gear, because always we have gear is a driven member, whereas pinion is a driving member. This is driven member and this is a driving member. What will happen is, so normally the output that we obtain from IC prime movers like IC engines or motors, the speed will be larger, but for the applications the lesser speed is required. So therefore normally we will have gear, that is the driven member, a bigger gear, so that the velocity from pinion gets reduced here. That is, the output of gear will have lesser speed compared to pinion. That's why we have got gear ratio over here. So the smaller one is called the pinion and larger one is called a gear. N1 represents speed of pinion, Z1 represents number of teeth on pinion, N2 is speed of gear, and Z2 is number of teeth on gear. Okay, so the first step is we need to find number of teeth on pinion and gear. We have got equation given by N1 Z1 is equal to N2 Z2. So from this, I can extract the value of Z2 in the form of velocity ratio N1 by N2 into number of teeth on pinion Z1. So to select minimum number of teeth on pinion, you need to look at the table that is given in your data handbook. So for a 20-degree to a full depth involute, minimum number of teeth that you should choose is 12. Okay. So similarly for 14.5 degree, you will have different values, and 20-degree stub, you will have different values. And select Z1 such that Z2 is not a fractional value. And next is we need to find the Lewis form factor, which is very, very essential. Use these equations given in data handbook. Find out Lewis form factor for gear and pinion, that is YG and YP respectively. And normally in service, everyone wants to replace this entire set, not replacing pinion separately, gear separately. So to make both the gears of equal strength, we can have concept called sigma naught V Yp to be equal to sigma naught Gyg. That means the strength should be same. So we have found out Lewis form factor. So take the ratio and choose from table 12.7, choose two materials for pinion and gear such that their static stress ratio is almost equal to Yg by Yp ratio. So that is the step number 3. Next step is to find weaker of the gear pair. So sigma naught Gyg for gear, sigma naught Pyp for pinion. So calculate whichever value is lesser, that's going to be called as weaker of the gear pair, and all the further design is going to be based on the weaker of the gear pair. So that is step number 4. Next, step number 5 is to find the surface velocity V given by pi d n by 60,000. Essentially, that is equal to pi into mz into n by 60,000. Here we are going to use Z1, N1 if pinion is weaker. We are going to use Z2, N2 if gear is going to be weaker. That's all. And then find out V in terms of module M. Then find out tangential tooth load Ft in terms of module by using the equation Ft is equal to 1000 P into Cs by V, where Cs is called the service factor, that is the factor through which the gears are subjected to, whether it is a continuous operation, 8 to 10 hours, medium shock, heavy shock, and so on. So referring to table 12.8, we normally choose 8 to 10 hours operation per day with medium shock, and so therefore CS is going to be 1.5. And face width B, initially we are going to assume it as 10 m because it ranges between 9.5 m and 12.5 m. So for compact design, we will choose B to be equal to 10 m initially. Then next step is to find m cube CV desired. Okay, so for that, take the Lewis equation, substitute Ft in terms of module, sigma naught CV, B as 10m, and then remaining things you substitute. So if the gear is weaker, substitute sigma naught G value. If pinion is weaker, substitute sigma naught P value. Then find the m cube CV desired value. So cross multiply this m to right hand side. Okay, then you will get m into m into m. That's going to be m cube into CV. You know the value of Ft there in numerator. Sigma naught is known, 10 is known, constant y is known, and pi is known. So then you will get m cube CV desired. So next step is to find module. Initially assume CV to be equal to 0.5 and get the substitute in m cube CV desired equation. Then get the value of module, then go to table 12.2, take standard value of m, and then calculate the CV from equations 12.19 A, B, C, D, E, depending upon the velocity. Okay, so and then find out m cube CV actual, which should be slightly greater than m cube CV desired. So we arrived at module, then FT, then velocity, and find out phase width B using Lewis equation. Next job is to find the dynamic load because gears are subjected to dynamic loading condition. So dynamic load is given by Ft plus K3 into V of C into B plus Ft divided by K3V plus root of BC plus Ft. So K3 is 20.67 given in your data handbook. B is the phase width, tangential tooth load, surface velocity of the gear. So this C is called the dynamic factor that is given in table 12.12. So to find the value of C, what we need to do is we need to find the error from table 12.14, okay? And then for the given velocity value, take error value, then go to table 12.12, depending upon the type of material that is used, the pressure angle that we have taken, and tooth profile, okay? To based on these parameters, choose the value of dynamic factor from table 12.12. And next, the gears are subjected to wear load. So we expect that the wear load should be less than dynamic load. Essentially, it is given by D1 BQ into K, where FW stands for wear load. D1 is given by M into Z1. B is phase width. Q is another factor given by D2Z2 by Z1 plus Z2, and K we are going to find out from endurance strength. So we are considering endurance strength here because we need longer life of the gears. So that is one of the requirements. If you see, one of the requirements is the life of the gear should be longer. That means we are considering should have good wear characteristics. It should be strong. So we have taken Lewis equation, good wear characteristics. So we are now taking about wear load, and then we talk about it should not fail in dynamic conditions. So therefore we are considering dynamic load also, that is FD, and it should have a long life so that their life is long. So life is long. So therefore we are considering endurance strength also because most of the components eventually fail because of endurance strength. So therefore we take endurance strength parameter here while taking K value. Okay, so endurance strength is given by 2.76 into BHN minus 70. Now we need to start our iteration somewhere at 200 or 250 BHN, find out endurance strength, substitute in the factor K there, and phi is pressure angle. EP and EG are the Young's moduli of pinion material and gear material. If not given, we can choose 2 into 10 power 5, okay, as the Young's modulus value for both pinion and gear. Calculate K, substitute this K into FW equation, see whether FW is greater than FD. Otherwise, if FW is less than FD, again enhance the value of BHN to next higher value by 25 counts, okay, or 50 counts depending upon the gap between FW and FD, and then again find out endurance strength, then find out K value, then substitute that K value into FW, see that FW is greater than FD for design to be safe. Okay, so for design to be safe. Next is you need to find out gear tooth proportions. Use 12.1 table. Find out gear tooth proportions in terms of module. Okay, so this is the procedure for designing a spur gear in general. Is that okay? Any doubt? Any doubt in this? So these are the list of tables for spur gear design with the latest data handbook that we have got, I think 4th edition. So this is the table for Table 12.4b for minimum number of teeth on Z1 on pinion, 12.7 for metal selection, 12.8 for service factor, 12.2 for standard module, 12.14 for error, 12.12 for dynamic load factor, dynamic factor C, and 12.3 for standard tooth proportions. So this is the design procedure of spur gear. So what all the things that we learned is there is a revision was done. So we learned about what a gear is, how a gear has got into come into effect. So what a gear is, then what is the classification of gears. Then we learned about various gears. We saw various gears. Then we learned about terminology of the gears. Then we learned about the considerations and design requirements of the gear. Then we learned about Lewis equation derivation. Then we learned about the gear design procedure. Okay. Okay. I think were you able to hear so far? Pawan?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, you were seeing a screen or what?
No, sir, we can't see your presenting. We can only see your name, sir.
No, no, no. So far, till
Oh, we
now.
saw, we saw, sir, we saw, we saw.
Okay. So, one second. Oh, I closed it. Okay. So we learnt about spur gear design today. Okay. Fine. I think that should be enough for today. So we'll see what next tomorrow. You need anything in specific in revision? Specifically, anything if you want? Okay.